What's up, guys? This is going to be the much requested combo video part of the Xiangjian guide series that I've been doing on Person Card Gaming over the last couple of days. Thanks for all the support in the comments, it means a lot, and I've had a lot of fun making these videos, and I hope to keep pumping out content. This is going to be broken into two parts because both videos ended up being like 20 minutes long. I didn't want like a massive video for combos, and so this video is only going to cover kind of the staple combos that you can do in any version of this deck. So pretty much you only will use the pure cards. And then a follow-up video is going to go into the Tenyi combos because those are a little more intricate, and I have, I think, 5 combos for each, so there's a lot to talk about in both. So let's just jump right in. This is the first combo. It is really your bread and butter of the entire deck, and so a lot of combos will have this one like inside them as kind of like a sub combo. It's just very basic. This is going to be off Moye, and any card you can reveal off Moye, so any Xiangjian or any Worm. You're going to see Mystery Shell Dragon as a placeholder in all of these combos, so I'm not actually playing this card, it's just going to be a placeholder. And just jump right in. It's going to be Moye, you reveal the card, and you get a token, so the token is a tuner. And now you have your 2 Worms to go into Chi Xiao. So you're going to go Chi Xiao Chainlink 1, Moye Chainlink 2, you're going to draw any card. And then with Chi Xiao, you're going to add Sudden Shift. So really, that's it. Extremely simple. Because of the way your chain is structured, they can't use Ash or Gamma on your Chi Xiao, which is great. Although if they have Gamma, they will probably use it on the Moye. And you have the option of adding Sudden Shift here, and then this is 1 negate from the Chi Xiao, plus a 2800 body. And then you have Sudden Shift, which is live, and you can use it to pop the Chi Xiao. And then your starter's next turn will continue to rack up advantage because you've drawn a card, you got to search. So that is the most basic play the deck has. Instead of searching Sudden Shift, you can also search Longyuan, level 6. And with Longyuan, you can kind of extend a little farther because you have a card that you revealed for Moye, and you can always discard this for Longyuan because they have the same requirements. So if you wanted to keep going, you would discard the extra card for your Longyuan if you're okay with losing this. This is oftentimes like an engine card, and so this can be a little neg, especially in the pure build. So it'll depend on the game state. But your Longyuan will summon a token, you'll synchro into a level 10, and the best option for us in the TCG is Xiangjian, the archetypal level 10. Of course, if Baroness is out, then you would want to make a Baroness here most likely, but most of this is going to be under the assumption that we aren't playing with Baroness unless the combo specifically calls for it. So for us, before we get Synchro Storm in January, we're going to have to settle for Xiangjian, which is a great card. And if you have Sudden Shift as well, if you like hard opened either Sudden Shift or Longyuan, then you can add a Sudden Shift to this board. And that alone is very hard for decks to break because it's an interrupt, and then Sudden Shift is a pop 2, and then off of either the Chi Xiao or the Xiangjian protecting itself, you can trigger the Xiangjian's banish effect, and so it's essentially a third disruption. And this can be very difficult for decks to deal with. So that is pretty much the bread and butter. It is worth noting that this plays into Nibiru because you're going monster token synchro, that's 6 summons total. And even if you have Baroness, if you're summoning Longyuan after your Chi Xiao, then you're going monster token synchro and then monster token. That's 5 summons, they can drop Nibiru before you ever summon a Baroness. So this line does play into Nib a little bit. It is also a little resource heavy. Like I said before, this vanilla is probably a real card. So if it is a Tenyi, you have a little more flexibility because they work in the graveyard. But if it's a real card, then you are giving up a little bit of follow-up, and you only have the 1 draw off Moye to kind of compensate for that. But still good to know. This is also an important OTK combo in the deck. So Longyuan does 1200 damage, plus the Chi Xiao is 4000. And then if Xiangjian is 4000 attack or higher, so if there are currently 10 or more banished cards, then that is actually exact game. So if you have resolved Desires previously, then this is 8k exactly, which is pretty neat. If you have any other monster also that is 1k attack or more, then this is also a way to go for game. So good to have, I guess, in your arsenal. I'm going to show the Baroness here because, OCG will typically go for this, and when we do get this card, we will probably also be going for this. But yeah, that is the bread and butter. Keep that in mind as we go through the rest of these combos. Combo number 2 is also very, very similar. It's going to be very quick. This is also kind of a bread and butter combo. You're just going to use Taya instead of Moye. This is the only true one-card combo in the entire deck. You're going to RotA for Taya, the Wind, and then the Wind is going to banish your RotA from the graveyard, and you're going to summon a token. In more complex game states, you will be using this to modulate a level of your card, but if you are just going first turn 1, you won't do that. You'll go straight into Chi Xiao here, and then you can use Taya to dump any worm if you want, and then Chi Xiao will add something from your deck to your hand. So in this case, you can dump, for example, you can dump a Moye. This can be useful to revive later with like a Baxia or with a Spiritual Peak. You can dump a Tenyi card, which is great. And here I'm going to add Sudden Shift. If you had follow-up, you could also add Longyuan. You could do pretty much whatever you wanted. But this is the same standard combo as the previous one. You're just using Taya instead of Moye. One very quick thing to notice is that you're trying to chain block Chi Xiao on a lot of these combos. You can always do so with Taya, because Taya will just mill stuff from the deck to grave. With Moye, you draw a card, and so if you have activated Prosperity, or if you plan to activate Prosperity this turn, you can't do Chi Xiao Chainlink 1, Moye Chainlink 2. So that is something that you also need to be aware of if you play Prosperity in this deck. But yeah, this is a very basic one-card combo off of the RotA. This combo is going to be an extension of the last combo, where we start with the RotA, and we also have basically any Xiangjian or Worm card in our hand. And it's going to be a little more practical in that I can show you how to break boards against this very poor Zoo player who has only managed to end on 2 cards. Yeah, so this is going to show also a very practical combo that you can do with Baxia in this deck, and also it's going to showcase the Numeron OTK. So we're going to go RotA for Taya. This is going to start the same as the last one, where we banish the RotA with Taya, summon a token. You have 2 options here. The first is you're going to go for Baxia and spin back 2 cards. The second is you can use this Dragon Sword. When it's banished, you can modulate level by 1. You can lower one of these guys by 1, and then you can go into Yazi. Yazi can then destroy a card, and then Yazi will activate, and you can special summon a Moye from the deck. So those are both strong options. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for Baxia. We're going to spin back 2 cards, and we're going to activate both Baxia and Taya here. So Taya is going to dump Moye, and then Baxia is going to spin back 2 cards to the deck. And now, we're going to use Baxia's second effect to revive the Moye that we just sent off to Taya. So this is a really cool interaction. This comes up in a lot of games with this deck, so I would say it's crucial to know this if you want to play this deck. If you have a spell or trap card that you're okay with losing, or a Tenyi monster that's on the field, you can also destroy that and keep the Baxia as an extra body. He's pretty big, and he is a great card. But if you don't, you can pop itself and bring back the Moye. So both Baxia and Yazi would have gotten you the Moye here. The difference is that Yazi is untargetable, but also plays into Ash Blossom. So there's pros and cons to both. Baxia also gets rid of 1 more card than the Yazi does. You also have to consider that Yazi being untargetable is not that relevant in that many game states, because if they have a negation like Impermanence or Veiler, they'll probably use it on your level 4 guys and not your synchros. So typically I tend to go for Baxia, and Baxia being a level 8 is going to be relevant very soon. So we're going to use Moye, revealing the Mystery Shell Dragon, the generic Worm or Xiangjian card in our hand. It doesn't matter what this is. Summon a token. We're going to go into Chi Xiao, do the bread and butter play, where we get a draw and then a search. So if you want to have a back and forth game, you can search Sudden Shift or Longyuan, and just whichever one is appropriate, and then just go ahead and do your regular game plan. If you want to end the game on the spot, you can search Xiangjian Men, the Grand Spiritual Peak. This is the Monster Reborn of the deck. If you have a Synchro, it's a generic revive for worms. So we're going to activate this and revive the Baxia that destroyed itself. So keep in mind, if you kept the Baxia on the field, you would have these on the field. You wouldn't have to search the Reborn, so that's also something to keep in mind as well. Now we have 2 8s. We're going to go into Draglubion. And then Draglubion is going to summon out number 100 Numeron Dragon and attach another number dragon to it. We're going to detach that monster, and we have a rank 8 and a rank 1 on board. So Numeron Dragon has 9,000 attack, and we got rid of 2 cards with Baxia, so we're going to swing onto an empty board for 9,000 damage, and that is the Numeron OTK. So it's not necessary to play this. There's a lot of players who are actually cutting this package and cutting even the Reborn, but this is a great way to end games immediately. When you don't want to give your opponent a chance to come back with whatever resources they have, you can just swing with a 9k Numeron Dragon. And I think the most important takeaway from this combo is the whole interaction with Baxia and Taya, sending a card you want to revive with the Baxia. So very, very important. Comes up in so many games that you wouldn't believe. And yeah, that's definitely the takeaway of this one. It's a cool way to show how this deck can rip through boards and then still just mount a lot of offensive presence. This next combo is going to be similar to the one I just showed, but going first this time. And it's a way to kind of get a little more value out of your Taya going first to put up more than just the one negate. So you're going to do the same play where you go Taya, banish Dragon Sword, summon token, go into Chi Xiao. And we're going to do a similar thing to the previous combo where we use Taya to dump Moye, and then we revive Moye with some other card. So the card here is going to be Grand Spiritual Peak. This is a card that I think is standard at 1 in a lot of builds. Some builds play 2 and some play 0. So it does come up in this instance. I did mention that it is a little hard to get use of Peak on turn 1, but this is one of those cases where it can be a little useful. You can just dump a Moye and you can revive it immediately. So we're going to do that now, and we do need an extra card to reveal for Moye in hand, so this is here as a placeholder. We're just going to go Moye, reveal the card, and then we're going to go into a second Synchro 8. So there's plenty of options. For example, you can go into Dragite as a spell trap negate. You can go into Cycling Lord Omega, and you can go into Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. There's plenty of options you can have. I'm going to go for Dragite in this combo because it's the most obvious, because now we have a spell trap negate and we have a monster negate for the next turn. And then you're going to draw a card off your Moye. So this is a pretty straightforward combo. My main problem with it is that it is a little greedy, because instead of searching Sudden Shift and getting the 2 pops from Sudden Shift, you end up having to waste, or not waste, I guess, but you end up burning your Chi Xiao Surge on the Reborn to get this Dragite on the field. So it's good that you do get the actual spell trap negate and you do get a draw off the Moye, but you are giving up your Sudden Shift and you're playing a little heavily into cards like Nibiru. And so a lot of the times you have to gauge whether it's better to have a more conservative opening and search either Sudden Shift or even a follow-up card for next turn, or if you want to be kind of committing to the board and summoning 2, if not 3 synchros on your first turn. Like if you had a Longyuan in hand, you could easily go for a 3rd synchro here, and then play even harder into a card like Nibiru, but maybe you want that extra synchro because your opponent's deck is so strong you need all the disruption you can get. So these are the decisions you have to make when you play this deck, and that is this line in particular is good to know for Taya openings if you play the Reborn. Last up is going to be a combo specifically involving Baroness, but it does have some application to the TCG. If you're not interested in testing with Baroness, then you can actually just skip this and just go to like the outro, or stay tuned for the Tenyi version. But I think there are some small tips here that are useful. The idea essentially is very simple, is that if you have a good hand where you can afford to discard for a Longyuan before doing your actual combo, you can very simply just make Baroness before your entire combo, and then Baroness will just protect your whole board. So really straightforward idea. There's a couple ways to go around it. You can actually start with Baroness right away, which is probably the most intuitive way to do it, is that you immediately go Longyuan, pitch a card, summon a token, go straight into Baroness, and then you are protected from cards like Gamma, Impermanence, Veiler, and Nibiru because of your Baroness for the rest of the turn. Or I guess one of those at least. You know, if they have 2 of them, then you're in trouble. But there's other things you can do, and these are a little more applicable to the TCG where we won't have Baroness for a while, because these are still useful tricks. So you can go your starter first, and then normal your starter. And here, if you have some kind of disruption, so if you get hit by Veiler or Impermanence here, you can actually use Longyuan to get the token on the field, and then the token plus the Taya can synchro into a Chi Xiao, and you get your engine rolling that way. So you're kind of extending using the Longyuan, and then you're just not bothering to synchro with them. So if they don't hatch up you, you'll just summon the Longyuan, and you want to do it this way because here you've summoned 4 times. And so if you do have Baroness available to you, which is kind of the point of this combo, you can go into a Baroness on 5 here, and now you are no longer vulnerable to Nib at all. So you'll do 1200 damage with your Longyuan, and then you can go into your standard combo line here. So this is the Chi Xiao Taya line. You can go into Sudden Shift, or you can go into the Moye line that I showed in the previous combo. Pretty straightforward stuff. Another thing I didn't mention earlier on is that Taya dumping sudden shift can also be decent because having a trap engrave to banish for your Chi Xiao or even for a Taya and following turns is a nice little way to kind of ensure that you will have a token on the field. So this is a minor thing that I've seen the OCG doing as well, is that they tend to dump excess copies of sudden shift to graveyard when they can. And this may be something you want to consider as well, depending on the game state. But yeah, this is a pretty straightforward series of combos. I think this last one especially is pretty straightforward. And again, if you're not testing with Baroness, then this is probably not super relevant to you. Just keep in mind that you can use these cards in interesting ways, like holding your Long Yuan as an extender and then purposely not synchroing with it just to have the token to use. So that's going to pretty much do it for this one. Tomorrow there's going to be part 2 of this combo guide, which is going to cover combos with the Tenyi build, which are a little more elaborate. So I hope you're excited for that. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will see you back in a day with more Tenyi content. Peace.